Hello, fellow Mythrunians. It is that time again. I am Paul, and this is the weekly live stream for Mythruna development. And unlike last week, we'll be back to doing the normal stuff. Um, got some coding to do. We're still trying to get ready for the release. And so, real quickly, let me thank the patrons. Yeah, and I apologize for last week's live stream. Just from my perspective, it was a bit of a train wreck, but we learned from these experiences, and I highly encourage everyone to do something that is outside their comfort zone, because you will learn a lot from it. And next time I know better how to arrange that. For one thing, I won't have the hardware issues I had, and the other thing is I will plan out the stream a little better so that we aren't just staring at a blank canvas for 20 minutes. Alright, so actually tonight we have a special treat. If I want to, I can pop open a webcam. That's what I look like, by the way. Hello. I think it kind of takes up maybe a little too much screen real estate for what we like to do. And I'm not sure I can trust myself not to like pick my nose while I'm developing. I spend a good deal of my adult life sitting up in my office coding by myself. I don't know if there's any embarrassing things I do with my face, but we can leave it up there for a minute if everyone thinks it's kind of cool. And once again, up in the upper left corner, up here, is the super secret link. If you go to that website, you put mythruna.com/mythruna2/engine test build, and then the password is dragon. That is where you can download the January release. We are targeting a mid-June release. Actually, I might just wait and do it on the anniversary. There's like June 22nd or whatever is like a special anniversary, because that was the last public release of the original Mythruna, and that was like when I got like super psyched to one year I got super psyched to try to do something special for that 10-year anniversary or whatever, and that's sort of what got development back on track and why we do these regular streams and so on and so forth. So I may just do that. I have to see what it lines up with the weekend, but that may be it. So anyway, this is what I look like. Hopefully I have not surprised anybody too much from their imagination on what they thought I looked like. My pictures are out there on the web, so maybe you guys already knew. Alright, without too much further ado, let's get started. Of course, now that the camera is up there, my nose is like itching constantly. So, what are we doing? Well, we're going to be knocking out some bugs and some deficiencies in the, the choppable blocks. So I will show you some of the issues. I've started to kind of write them down in my list up here. We are, by the way, fully converted over to the new model view state. Basically the new model viewer, and it is glorious. It is so much faster, and I don't know if that's louder for you. It's louder for me. No, I think I just have the volumes cranked because I was testing something. My local volume on my headphones. So I think if I do this, I'm trying to figure out how not to block the okay, so I want to see where the camera lines up. So I think if I just cover just the chat part, then you guys can still see my my face. And all right, so let's fade. We want to go to fade. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to turn that down. Okay, that is better. Anyway, I hope you guys had a productive week. After last week's live stream, I did have a fairly productive time getting the model view state converted. Again, we're still not I'm still not doing the carved blocks because I like to see them. I'm trying to... So here's something interesting that I noticed. I added stats to the HUD up here. Hopefully my camera's not my webcam's not covering it up. But these stand-in blocks that are really obvious at the moment because they're not carved. Those are the choppable ones. If I walked up to this and, well, that would just disappeared. But if I walk up and I can like knock pieces out of these, they're already converted. Oh, that is bad news. Well, how am I supposed to explain what I'm doing if we find a bug already? Oh, that's something else. What we want is up here somewhere. So we'll just mark this down. Oh, interesting. Okay, so this is what we're doing, right? We're going through and we're finding bugs as we test things. So I'm gonna just put that up here. We'll call this one just adding these things to the list, right? Okay, so back to what I was explaining before. So this is the punch list time of development, where as I go through every little thing I find that's broken, I just kind of write down. Usually I would make a bug in the bug tracker, but for the live stream, it's just quicker if I, whatever. It's just quicker if I just jot it down in that text file. So, back to what I was explaining. So those stand-in blocks that are destructible, the ones that are currently not carved, I call those facsimiles, because it was just a convenient way. The way my models are managed. Hey, Oak, how's it going? Playing Fallout 76? Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay, we might have to deal with this sooner rather than later. I thought I fixed this problem. Error loading shape name. Unchecked exception. Illegal state client is not. Oh, that's something else. That is not the real error that caused us to die. Cache loader return null. That can't happen. Yeah, getting brave with the camera. That's what I'm saying. I did notice. It's interesting when you see yourself in the webcam, which I can't see myself right now, and that's probably a good thing because I would get self-conscious. But like you see yourself not in a mirror, so you're flipped, and I happen to notice that this one eyelid sags more than it used to. So that may be something I have to have looked at. Perhaps I have some nerve damage or something there. All right, so that shouldn't happen. I think we had see, again, my nose is like all itchy because we're on this because I got that camera on. Cache loader return null for cache loader should not return null. That is the shape cache. I'm pretty sure I fixed shape cache never to do that. But anyway, let's fix that real quick. Shape cache will be over here. Okay, so let's call it shape cache no return issue. Yeah, again, my nose, man. I guarantee you my nose never itches this much when I'm just sitting here by myself. Alright. Or maybe I just get good scratches in, and then that's why it's not a problem. So Guava cache, Guava is a library for Java, and that's what I use, this Guava cache loader. The Guava loading cache, you cannot return nulls from the load. It cannot handle null values. And that's because I think part of its yeah, there goes still the itchy nose. I think that's probably because they use the value itself as some part of management, and they support weak values and things. Anyway, you can't return a null from these things. And usually this would never return a null, but I think what happens is, yeah, why the hell is that returning null? Oh, C0. So for these facts objects, what this is saying, so this is saying it's a fax, which is a facsimile. So it's a stand-in for some block, right? But I can tell 0. So what it's telling is it's a carved block. That's the C part, and it's type 0. So it's block type 0, which is empty space. So you'll never generate geometry for that. The geometry generator knows this and will never generate geometry for that. What happened was, I believe, we somehow created a fax object for empty space. So there's fax objects can get created for empty space. So that's bad. But we found several bugs in this process. So if you want to make defensive software, you kind of work your way down. You say, okay, well, if I get this for some reason, I shouldn't just crash the client. So let's fix that. And then we'll fix why this is happening. And then we'll also fix, like, yeah, so basically the shape cache null return issue. So you can't return nulls from here, but there's a trick you can use where you... oh, this is going to be interesting, though. Because we don't know what the type is here. Oh, that's tricky. We actually cannot fix this issue. Because we can't fix it inside shape cache because it's generic type. We actually don't know what kind of shape to make. So the trick is when create shape returns a null, instead of returning null from here, we would return an object, you know, the equivalent of T. We create a special null object that's would be an instance of T, you know, be an instance of the shape, and we use that as a stand-in so that when the shape factory get method is called here, we could check to see if it's that null object. Unfortunately, so we cannot easily do that because we don't know what to instantiate. It's going to be some subclass of abstract shape, and there's ways I could still do it. I have to let me remember where I'm using shape cache. Is it in the client? Oops. I think we're using it there. So yeah, I mean, when I create it there, I could give it the null. So what we could do is null object. We could give it the what we want to consider the null object. It's a stupid thing, but it will make this cache loader much more robust. T result equals, oops. Return result, oops. Equals null, then we'll return the null object. Otherwise we return result. So that's fine, right? And then in here, where we get this result, And then we say return result equals null object. We return null, otherwise we return result. So we've kind of translated it into a special object if we had a null shape, and then back here we translate it back into null. So create shape will return null. Then it makes it somebody else's problem. Is that good? No, but at least it won't crash there, right? Rig model factory. Oh, yeah. That's not the real error. That was, we were shutting down ungracefully. Yeah, so this is the, yeah. Somewhere there might have been a log here that explains what's going on. Yeah, fax for 0, array null. Fax blocks function. Yeah, so we have a special code in there that says if the block type is null. Yeah, see my nose is still itchy. If the block type is, yeah, if the block type is 0, then we return null there. We could have instead returned something. Maybe that is a better option. Actually, I kind of like the fact that this is a little more robust. Can I create an M block shape without anything in it? No, I'd have to at least give it a part. Can I just give it a group? Yeah, see, it wants a celery part, in which case I might as well have just turned a, yeah. Okay, so all that stuff I said about the shape cache, I'm going to rip all this out. We're just going to deal, we're just always going to create good models. Everything else will fail if we don't. So this was just kind of the canary telling us that bad things were happening. What we need to do is make sure that the fax blocks function never returns. If it is a fax, it will never return a null. Fax blocks function create facsimile. Yeah. So if array is null, make an empty cell array. What do we want to do? Let's make it just 4. And let's fill it with error blocks. Whoa, wouldn't that be cool? Block type index, yep, can tell me what the error type is. So this is the open source stuff. All that stuff is open source stuff. This is the soon-to-be open source stuff. Block type index. I believe it can tell me what the error. So there's like a one of the things that's improved over original Mythruna. Yeah, there it is. The old Mythruna that everyone played, 10, 15 years ago, is that when I added new blocks, it had code that would allow things to shift around, but there was no way to remove blocks without creating errors or blank blocks or something. So when I developed new Mythruna, I built in a bad block. So like within your block set, actually I can show you. Gray CD block set Gradle run shaper. So there's basically a bad block that can be used as a stand-in for when a block is missing. Whenever there's any kind of error looking up a particular block type. Come on, you can do it. Come on, shaper. Why are you taking so long to start? Okay, see this block here, right? These are the bad blocks. It's the bad cube. And so when I see these, I know that there was a missing block, right? I've done this with textures now too. A lot of the materials that will load, and even the new model view state, if it can't load a model, it puts a big red sphere where the model should be, which is, ideally what we would have gotten here if the cache hadn't crapped out. So I think it'll be cool in this particular case. Let me see. I think cell array has a way to fill in all the clear with a value. Yep. So we will do array clear block type index get bad block index. I think that works. Okay. And so now, even though our data is in a bad state, we've got like a component that's we've got a fax object that's created in the wrong place, basically. It was and this is kind of like the root of what I was about to show you. Something is wrong in the code that generates the fax objects. Even though they look correct, something is wrong there. And I'll show you what I mean if this lets us load without crashing. And hopefully I think we'll see a fax object in the middle of nowhere. What is all this stuff going on here? Null point interception. Cells is null. Ooh. Oh, that's on the back end because it doesn't have the fix. Neat. Okay, so we're going to get lots of physics errors as yeah, see? We've got a fax object just sitting there in the middle of empty space. And while I'm here, let's go ahead and capture this. And where's my little here it is. And so we'll capture this as well. And put that in my document. We'll just basically work down all these things we found. Yeah. Fixed in the factory to create a dummy bad object. Okay, done. We fixed that bug. We were able to start the client. Of course, if we wait 5 or 10 minutes or whatever, that will fix itself. But so look, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this one behind is probably 1, 2, so 7. We should have 7. Yeah, we've kept the physics engine going crazy down there. We've got 7 of these, but I added stats for the active faxes and the current faxes, and it says there's 19 of them. There should not be 19 of them. Right now, there should only be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And in fact, that's not going down like it's supposed to either, which either means my count code is messed up or the cleanup code is messed up. Like it's not actually cleaning them up. Whoa. Yeah, so I gotta fix that physics problem because we're falling through the world and stuff. So let's fix that real quick. That is in sphere to blocks because the cell array is null, but the cell array is only null because something returned null on the back end. The thing is, okay, well we can fix this problem, but I don't know why cells was null. Probably we asked the system that tracks all that stuff. Alright, well let's just fix the null problem. So M-block collision system, which should be near M-block shape up here. Cannot read. There it is. M-block collision system. So what do we say, 533 or something like that? No, it was 523, that's what it was. So if cells equals null, return. That's empty space essentially. Okay, so we won't have that problem anymore. Except for I've got to rebuild that over here. That is in mblock fizb. Gradle install. These fax blocks are complicated. There's a system that manages them, and if it hasn't built the object yet, then the physics system will see the wrong thing, and that's actually probably a problem as well. But it's better not to have exceptions thrown in the physics engine because it kills the collision detection. So like if you're like colliding with 5 objects and the first object throws an exception, then you don't collide with the other 4, and that's what causes us to fall through the world and stuff like that. So that's bad. We super don't want that. And what else are we going to look at? So that'll fix that problem. And now I want to make sure that my updates are happening correctly so that the stats are actually right. I only added them just before, and so it's possible that they're not getting updated correctly, but there we go, we're updating it there. And when we release, yeah, so this is a problem. Count faxes. Basically my so it was a count reporting problem. Oops. Because I was not using the same value for each of these. So let's so nope, skip that one, replace, and then down here where we're updating the remove count, we fix that too, and then let's replace this one as well so that they are all the same. Skip that one, replace. Okay, so the stats should be updated correctly now. And so if we look, I think it's unfortunate that we found like 2 or 3 bugs immediately before getting to the real bugs, but it's all part of the process. And we prioritize the bugs that keep us from being able to get to the other bugs. But I think there's some underlying problem with the management of these objects, and we're creating too many of them. I think on the back end we create too many of them. Well, I know for sure on the back end we create too many of them. Because if it was only on the front end, when I shut the game down and started it up again, they wouldn't be there. But because we still, like, before we do anything, when I go into this world, there'll be like 19 objects, or 14, or something larger than 5. And that will mean that there's actually more than 5 in the database. So yeah, so there are 9 faxes, 9 active faxes, but we know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's only 5 on the screen. So in the database, and we know this one's bad already, so in the database there's 5 more objects than there should be. And if we wait long enough, one of these is going to disappear. But we can also force one to happen Whoa. Somebody is still unhappy. Oh, blocks to blocks. So there's another one on 733 that I have to fix. Whoops. Let's let those continue to go. So there's another one on 733 that I have to fix. Probably everywhere. There's different kinds of this thing to this thing kind of collisions. And let's just look for get cells. So that one will do it. P1, P2. P1, P2, yeah. So this is if P1 dot hold on. Where was it? Okay, so we could do it down there instead. It's wasteful, but this is an exceptional condition. If source cells equals null or target cells equals null, return. Somebody doesn't exist, and so therefore, yeah, just return. So let's keep looking for get cells. Here's another one. If source cells equals null, return. Can't collide with you, so that's blocks to world. So the source didn't have any. If cells, so this is array to blocks. If cells equals null, return. Can't add no blocks. Okay, so we've made that more robust. We've let all of our blocks should have gone away, and sure enough, all the faxes went away. All the active faxes is still 9, so we're not updating. That's probably true, but that's an update problem, not a that's a stats problem. I'll show you what I mean. So the new model view state gives us a lot of capabilities. Let me go ahead and recompile that while we're so we shouldn't get those errors in the future. So the new model view state has a much better life cycle for background tasks and things, and this guy, the thing that deals with the choppable blocks has a big job to do, because right away, instantly, it wants to make a model that represents that potentially partially chopped block, whether it's, you know, a ramp or whatever. It knows what the block type used to be, and so it can put a stand in there. Meanwhile, it's got to go ask the server, hey, what are the actual blocks? Because there could have been other players chopping on it in the last 5 minutes. You could have chopped on it and gone away and come back. And so it's got to get the most up-to-date version of that. And so it asks the server in the background on a background thread. And that comes in. Meanwhile, somebody could be standing there chopping it, and it's got to get those updates so that it can update its local copy. And so a whole bunch of thread state management in here. And the only place I'm updating the active, quote-unquote, I can do this now, and you can see it. Can you? Let me see. What's like? I can do this now. Yeah, quote unquote. There we go. Quote unquote. Active faxes is it's only updated on the background thread right now, so this update counts. What we need to do is just make sure that whenever we add a model. So whenever we add a model, it's going to set something up on the update queue, and that will get updated. But whenever we release a model, we should probably update the active count as well. So that'll fix that particular issue. I think there's another weird bug with the shadows, and I was going to talk about the drop shadows. So let's get back into the game. We actually are making progress. Like if I go over here, I can say this one. That's still we fixed this. We should not have any more. Right, I ran out of get cells, I think. Let me just double check that. Yeah, that's right. I ran out of get cells, so we fixed all of the cases possible. All right. So it says I have 6 concurrent viewers. You guys are awfully quiet tonight. But that's better than last week. I think it was okay, though. We only had like 2 or 3 people on last week, and that's probably for the best. I don't know that it was entertaining. Okay, so we should have no faxes. They're not even updating them. That's good. Except for I should have updated it with 0. So that actually could be... Oh. Oh. So we don't even get numbers for... And I think that's a bug in the counters. Because rather than... basically, it doesn't detect that... it's going to take forever to go that way. This model counts thing... Yeah, interesting. So it only detects the old count. Oh, so set count to -1. So update count, get count, set count. So that should have. If view is not equal to null, we would have created the view on initialize. So basically we created them. So just first, essentially it's not getting initialized. If greater than equals 0, view set object. So we'll just update the... Okay, so next time these will at least be filled in, and that's also why mobs shows up between them, I think. So we have 0 now. If I walk over and hit one of these, whack. Okay, so we whacked through it twice, and we ended up with 3. So basically, each time we chopped away a block, it looked like 2 of them. Okay, we chopped 4 blocks away, but we ended up with 3 objects, even though we're only supposed to have 1. So something in here is not detecting that we're in the same block and reusing the object that's already there. And I hope it's not a issue of, oh, we lost one of our dudes. He fell through the... He fell through the world, I bet. How many AIs? Yeah, if we have 3 active characters, so one's me, one's her, and one's a dude who's probably in the bottom of the world. Yeah. It's supposed to fix him and take him back home. But that's interesting. Okay, so that's a problem. Let me just write that down. AI character gone. I assume he's underground. We can find out in a second. But I wanted to talk about this. So we've got too many of these being created. There should have only been 1, and there's 3. I wonder if I hit it again. Okay, so we knocked out 2 more blocks. Okay, it was smart. It reused at that time. So it must be a... oh, nope, we accidentally created another one there. So now we've got 4. Oh, because we put down here. Okay, so that's actually accurate. But I mean, it's working beyond that, right? It's a little aggressive in how many objects it's creating. And I think it has to do with there's this initial phase. Yeah, now we've got 14 faxes. So we, bad news. So that's something that's got to be fixed. So we've got too many. Did I put that? Too many fax objects created during initial hits. Okay. The other thing is, this is part of new features that I haven't, like it, on the master tracker. This is one whole big giant feature on its own, and so I don't like to put bugs in the tracker when I'm still working on the issue. We're still working on the feature, you know. So let me talk about the weird shadow bug, right? So if I come over here, and I think I showed you guys this before, but you see how there's like that weird block thing that goes underneath? So the theory was that was the drop shadows. Hey Paul, hey Irfan. I was just like reading your thing and responding to it at the same time. Good seeing you too. So let me show you what the drop shadows do. These little, we don't think about them, but that campfire there has a drop shadow underneath it. And I've given the ability to turn those on and off now. So if I disable it, you can see how lame everything looks, right? I think this is bad, right? A lot of games would be satisfied with this. They would do that. It's just really easy to add drop shadows. It's a really performant trick, and I think it adds so much to the scene. So that's what it looks like before. If I turn shadows on, suddenly they have presence in the world. She has presence in the world. This fire has presence in the world. You can see her on the ground there. Everything has a little bit more presence in the world. This has presence in the world, and so on. In fact, even when I open it up, you can see there's like shadows inside that go away. Oh, wrong. If I turn them off, so everything's just kind of boring. They're not perfect. There's a lot of problems with them. So how they work, though, is they take the bounding volume of the object and they create an axis-oriented bounding box, and then use a post-processing trick to figure out any quote-unquote pixels that are in that 3D box. You know, basically draws a big gray egg on them. So if I turn on this debug, you can see the boxes that it's making, which I think is kind of cool looking. So over here we can see for this particular fax object, it created this one big block which represents its volume. It's dropped down, right, so that it casts a shadow. And normally, it would draw sort of any pixels in here would be sampled inside this 3D box, and it would figure out to draw a big gray egg. And so there's a big gray egg drawn underneath the fire. There's that's her hair, that's causing a little bit of gray on it. Anyway, it's just a simple trick. You can see the head of the axe, and but you'll see here when we have the bug, we've got two blocks for some reason, and that could be because of the other bug we've been talking about. It could also be that there's something wrong with the way this particular block type generates boxes. Yeah, this is another bug that I've written down. For some reason, if I'm running around and I happen to look over my own, there's some case where I get there's the other guy. He just wandered over there. Okay, so he's fine. Or he, it's a he, right? And let me turn the shadows back off. Anyway, or the debug back off. So yeah, it's he. So he just got over there somehow. I imagine he partially walked through the blocks. If I ran away and ran back, he would appear back where he's supposed to, because his home position is set over here, I imagine. Anyway, I'm going to leave that bug there for a second. Anyway, so I think that the weird shadowing is related to that. But it occurred to me that if that's not true, and I fix the other problem of the fact that there's, oh, we're back down to one fax object, so that's definitely not the reason. One fax, one active fax. So that's definitely not the reason. There's only one here now. We've still got the problem. So it must be how the geometry is being generated, which is not a problem I strongly care about. And so it occurred to me these particular blocks should probably not be casting shadows because they're a regular block wouldn't cast a shadow. Like if I just I mean it would occlude in the normal, cellular automata blocky way. But see, there's no drop shadow now. So really, I could just turn off shadows for those objects. So yeah, all of our faxes are gone. All the active faxes are gone. We're back to ground state. So there's a whole bunch of bugs to fix, and we'll just get right into it. We've been sort of fixing them as we go. And so what do I want to tackle first? I think I want to figure out why we're getting duplicate blocks. Hold on, somebody's texting me. Yeah, it's my younger child. No. Okay. Yeah, so that's the other thing. I haven't been able to work much on Mythruna recently because I'm trying to get the house ready for my graduating high school seniors grad party in a couple of weeks. And it's super critical, and there's a lot of things on the list. Okay. So, number one. Okay, so null pointer exception in collision system. I prefer it if the items fit on one line if possible. That character gone. We found him. Done. Okay. Too many fax objects created during initial hits. That's something we need to worry about. So that's the other one. Let me look at that null pointer exception because we recorded this up here. That's in the chop object, and that could be related to why we were getting. So destructible object system, line 193. Let's change this to destructible. Okay, let's just knock that guy out real quick. Null pointer exceptions are generally the easiest to fix. 193. I have this open. Anyway, I was fortunate to get to work on this a little bit last weekend because it was raining, and most of the work I have to do is outside. Most of the work I could do last week was outside. We already went to the 193, yeah, so that's this right here. The tracker has no cells. Why on earth would the tracker... Is it? Or is it that we have no tracker? No, tracker pos would have failed. So this is why null pointer exceptions are the easiest to debug. If you tell me the line number and that there was a null pointer exception, I could probably tell you. It's almost like a puzzle, right? This line threw an exception because one of these things was null. And actually new null pointer exceptions tell you. Used to be, in older Java, you would not have gotten all this information about cannot invoke get cell on a null array because the thing is null. You would just say null pointer exception. F you. Figure it out, right? It's happened on this line. Go figure it out. This is actually telling us that the return value of so basically it's the field value is null. And so if we go over here this tracker cells is null. That's why we can't call get cell on it. But used to be, you just say, hey, the line number, you had an MPE. And so you can say, well, it's not this. This is a class, so it can't be that. Tracker dot, oh, it could have been tracker. Here, let's look back. Is there something else that would have thrown an MPE? Oh, yeah. For one thing, we checked null, so it can't be null. And another thing here, we'd have gotten a null pointer exception if we tried to dereference pos. So obviously, even if null pointer exception hadn't told us in the modern Java, we would know cells is null. That's the only thing that could cause this to be null. Well, the other thing is if any of these cell.x, cell.y, if cell itself was null, cell can't be null. We've created it right there. So, and we would have failed all of these other checks, would have thrown a null pointer exception. So we know with process of elimination, tracker.cells is null. Why is tracker.cells null? If we've got a tracker, that means that it was created in the block container. So we updated it. It has been through all of this process. So we created it. We asked the shape index to create a facsimile for aha. Aha. Here's another case where a so if cells equals null, we can steal that code from faxblocks function that creates basically an empty, well, the erroring one. Okay, so now, ta-da! So do we have enough imports to do this? Yes. So that was where that's why that guy got null. And they will never get null again. If we accidentally create an object in the middle of empty space, we will not have a null pointer exception. So I'm pretty confident I can call this one done. We fixed it. Now, why that was null in the first place is bad. So what happened there was somebody called chop. Our axe hit the block, and one of these calculations put us in a place where there was no block type, and we don't check for that here. Yeah, see, like little hairs. Anyway, so we get the cell, we get the type, and it's 0. And yet we went ahead and created the object. In fact, are we looking up? And so we also know find block entity is failing because we recreate the object each time. Are we just getting multiple chops before we have a target? There's a slight, at least a 1 frame delay between when we create this entity for our stand-in block. Man, itchy nose, man. And yeah, except for, yeah, so there's a possibility that we call chop, we call chop block, which creates the entity, but potentially we've called chop multiple times in the same frame because we got multiple collisions. And so I think we need to deconflict sort of frame coherence if we've already seen what do we want to do here? What am I thinking? Because each of these collisions will come in with a different... In fact, let me just log chop. The chopper, the target, contact point, and the velocity, so the norm, yeah, because I think we're also we're too sensitive. Glancing blows, or we need to actually dot the normal with the velocity, I think, or maybe we're already doing that in here. But before we even create it, I thought we went through this already, so maybe okay, so chop block is the guy that's doing a chop object. Okay, so we ought to be able to have enough logging to see what's going on. But I thought a previous I thought in a previous live stream we talked about the glancing blows and how to detect them. Yeah, we still need to implement this stuff. Alright. Well, since the world reset itself while we were watching it last time, we should be able to test it with a fresh 0 objects. Oh, you guys can see me sip my beverage now. And so you'll know when it's all gone. Am I still in the camera? Yep. I wish I could have the little window up here too. I couldn't find a way to make obs do that though. We always know when it's gone. Well, yeah, I say something usually. I've made it last an hour. There's like this much left in here. Uh-oh. What's all that? What's all that noise? Come on. I want to see. What's the... Where are all those stack traces? Worker pool. Oh no. Get fog. This is because this fog setting is null. Oh. Why? That's bad. Do we have an earlier error? Oh, wait. What do we got? Okay, so those are normal. It's just warnings. So for some reason, fog settings got messed up, and now we are not getting wow. Okay, so we do still have some fax objects. Oh no, these are built things. That is interesting. All of the faxes went away, but because they were world modifications, they got they look like buildings now. This is kind of cool, actually. I mean, it almost works, right? You can imagine someday going over to like smooth voxel or something. We'd have to deal with the transitions a little better. Yeah, so that was weird. Yes, the log does. The not in this view down here, but in the actual debug log that's written to the disk, I can see what thread things are coming from. And I can kind of get an indication whether it's a background thread or not sometimes by what is in the context there too. So why were the fog settings null? That's bizarre, really. Yeah, like the very first... The log is just... It's whatever log4j does. It's doing that, spooling it on a background or something. I don't worry about it. It's just magic. It happens. Log4j through slf4j, so it buffers it somehow. I've never had a problem with it not finishing writing a log, though. Fog settings. Get fog distance because this fog settings is null. World view state fix fog. So world view state is what generates the the terrain, the block terrain, and the buildings and so on and so forth. So on what, how would fog settings ever be null? Because it's set by a global thing in the blackboard. And so who is calling blackboard set find source dash name star.java xargs grep fog settings. So game session state. I can't talk. Game session state. Who's setting it? Environment state. So environment state did bad things. That creates fog settings right there, but somehow did not set them on the blackboard. Or on initialize was never called after it was set. Alright. I'm just going to document this and move on because this is probably a random intermittent problem. And so where's my little thing where I was keeping track of these guys? That one's weird. I have never seen that one before. And now I got distracted from what I was doing. We were going to... oh yeah, we were going to chop some uninitialized blocks and see what happened. Yeah, right now, actually, talking about logs, Mythruna gzips all of the old logs into a directory. And so probably I should, when it's not a test engine build anymore, I'll have to clamp that down to only keep, so many of the last ones or whatever, because my log directory is probably pretty large by now. Actually, we can look at it real quick. More or dir dot client logs. Or let's do cd dot client du dot dash h logs. Badoom 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 badoom. It's not too bad. I mean, well, we've got 4 years worth of logs right there. Yep, so 580 megabytes of logs in there right now. For, development since January 2021. Not bad, really. But that's something that players would probably get annoyed about. Mythruna takes up enough disk space as it is just building its worlds. Because it builds a lot of data to make that far distance work. Okay. So let's make it so you guys can see too. Because YouTube does not like dark colors. Alright, so we want to check, and this is where our axe swings. So even though the axe is not in her hand, it's much closer to being in her hand than it used to be. The new model view state has like better timing. Okay, so let's just try to get one whack in Okay, well, we whacked a bunch of things. And we are getting tons of logging. In fact, we got 23 it made 23 objects just from that. All right, we've got issues. Okay, I think I know what I want to do now, but let's just kill this, and now I remember what we were looking at. So just destructible object system. Grep destructible. There we can type object system. Mythruna log. Wow! See, that's a lot of logging. So, yeah, so we chopped, and we chopped, and we chopped, and we chopped, and we chopped, all within, so here's something cool I did, right? In talking about logging, you see this 005532? That is the frame number. I added to the logging that it adds a log context every frame where it increments that. So you can tell all of these things happened on the same frame. Yeah, so blah, 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 532, 532, 532, 532, 533. So this is when we started the next chop object. Prior to that, we created a ton of churn. 26 or 23 objects or whatever, because in that one frame, I got all of these chops between all of the different parts of the axe. Yeah, so let's look at that. So we've got the chopper. It's me. It doesn't know that my object is the one doing the chopping. We do interestingly get the velocity and the normal. So the normal is pointing south, directly south, and our velocity is partly west and partly south. Right. Huh. So we were actually chopping away from this at the time. Right, if you think about this from above, we've got to wait for the whiteboard to load. So let's ignore Y for a second. X and Z is looking top down. The block is like this, and the surface normal is pointing this way. And what we're seeing here is that, where is it? At the point of contact, we were going negative X by 1.24 and positive Z by 0.15. Okay, so that's like our velocity, right? Because we're not, our speed, for example, is not 1. It's whatever the square root of each of these values squared is. But at any rate, if you so these are rough, let's call them roughly the same. So it's like a 45-degree angle, and this kind of makes sense, right? Our axe was traveling this way when we hit, so we actually were dragging through and out the other side in this case. So we shouldn't have even taken anything off. So that's what I was talking about before about. We need to, glancing blows like this, they shouldn't cause problems. They shouldn't cause it anyway. But anyway, even if that's true, that axe head is made up of 6 or 7 blocks or, a bunch of blocks. Any one of which can, cause a collision. This one event caused I think the contact... Okay, let's move this to something where we can flatten these lines. So we'll come in here, we'll do like this, and then... Yes, this is the problem from cutting and pasting it from Windows console. Linux is smarter about this. Okay, so we can, we know those are all, we don't really need to care about, this is the nice thing about this editor. You can right click and drag and it does this. Boink. Alright. So contact points are slightly different. Right, this was the contact point, I think. We can see. Contact point. Yep, that's the first vector. We just barely different all the different ones. So like each part of that, each little block in the axe head hits, and eventually there will be some logic to determine that, hey, that's not good. We're going to ignore some of that. But in the meantime, if I chop you and you're a block, and I've already chopped that block, right? I need to be able to detect that and figure out which block is the more powerful one. Because, So there's two problems in play. One is, even if we decided that all of these were good chops, we want to pick the best ones, or decide what to do with them as a group. So we'd want to keep track of all of those different chops together and combine them into one modification. You figure out which of what cells we want to remove. But we also want to ignore the glancing blows. And my fear is, if I just put a straight, hey, if we've already seen this block, ignore it, then we might miss good hits. Like, we might miss the better hits, and it would... Anyway, let's try it. Set vec3 I visited, frame visited. So every frame we will collect the blocks we've already hit, so that we can avoid hitting them again. So chop block, this is what creates the thing. First of all, if block type index.get type equals null, we don't want to do it at all. That'll fix that other one of where we accidentally created one for empty space. And so block loc if not frame, frame visited dot add block loc return. Because what was happening was, we see all these different chops, chop, 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 chop block, chop, chop. So each of those, it looked for an existing entity, but that entity wouldn't have existed yet, because how it's searching. How is it searching? Find block entity. Yeah, it's finding a tracker, so it's looking through all of its existing trackers rather than asking the entity system. It's looking through the trackers that it's managing. So that's not going to happen until blocks update is called. And so that may not happen until the beginning of the next frame. And so in the meantime, we're chopping, chopping, chopping. And this is definitely the fastest way to look them up. But we could have asked the entity system as well. Because the tracker has a position. we could have potentially just filtered on the position. That is probably the better way to go, in fact. Can we filter on position? Destructible. Is it destructible block? Oh, tracker position. Okay, it is destructible block, but this may not actually have what we need. Yeah, it doesn't have the position. The position is part of the tracker. That's why we can't actually look things up by location, because that's part of the initialization of this. We know the block. We ask for its shape and its body and position. Yeah, it's spawn position, right? Yeah. So we could look it up by position. That's a better option. The thing is, yeah, because the tracker could be used to accumulate the hits. So, like in reality, we call chop block in the same place. We want this to find the entity because then we can find the tracker, and we can call chop object. And so if we call chop object within the same frame, this guy down here, this tracker, could keep track of all the hits we've gotten, and then in its update apply them, that kind of thing. So we've already got all the data structure locality we would need to do that tracking without adding any new data structures. So we just need to make find tracker work better. And I'm going to put a big comment here. The problem here is that the trackers may not be up to date with the entity system. It's a good first pass, but cannot be used for final determination. So we'll go ahead and do that loop because it's faster if we're going through the existing ones. I think, yeah, because we wouldn't have to hit the database. But otherwise, we have an entity data. Yep, we do. So we want to say ed find entity. Is that it? It's funny. ED stands for entity data, but I also think erectile dysfunction. It's gone. Pepsi's gone. I made it last an hour and 15 minutes. That's not bad. So now we're on to water. I won't put you guys through me chewing gum. Okay, so we're going to find the entity. So that's what we need. We need to be able to pass it the component filter, which is going to be spawn position. So that's the issue too. We are going to have to... Oh, we got game constants already. What are we using game constants for? Maybe I already did this. Oh. Oh, yeah. Sure. So what we want to do is long bin ID equals, I think spawn position does like a 2-cell ID. Who has him? Spawn position. Hey, I'm like batting 1,000 tonight. Grid, blah blah blah. World to cell, yeah. I thought grid let me go straight to cell ID from location. Sometimes we're looking at code that's older than some features that were added to the class. World to cell. Now, world to ID converts the world location to a cell location and then to a cell ID. So this is world to cell and then cell to ID. That's doing both. World to ID. And it'll take a vec3d or it'll take a... So, and let me just make sure that's doing world to cell, cell to ID. And what was it called? My brain can only hold so much at a time. World to ID. Okay. World to cell, cell to ID. And spawn position, that's the thing I need to look at. Spawn position is doing world to cell, and cell to ID. And actually, so it could have done it in one pass. No. Yes, it could have done it in one pass. I'm not going to fix that right now. So we want, yeah, world to ID and loc, right? We can just pass the loc because it had one that took that. Okay. Find tracker loc and yeah. It's funny that we're using vec3d for that instead of vec3i. But no matter. Bin filter, bin ID. And then we want to find the entity that's got a spawn position. Because we're asking for that. And what are these other things looking for? Spawn position and destructible block. Okay. Alright, so we are finding the entity. And so if we found one, but we won't be able to return the tracker. Because we won't have a tracker yet. All that work, guys. Oh, no, see? Okay, so this is actually okay. We leave that there. So as far as I know, there's limitations. Why can't we search on location? Oh, because of the nesting. But we could search on the bin ID. Why wouldn't we search on the bin ID? Oh, okay. So first of all, if tracker is not equal to no. So we did the tracker way. Return tracker entity ID. Okay? Let me put my comment back here. So the problem here is that the trackers may not be up to date with the internet. It's a good first pass, but it can't be used for auto search. So that's fine. Bin ID. So you may have like lots of different things positioned all over the thing, but the bin is the big 32 by 32 grid. So you might have lots of destructible objects in there, all with the same bin ID. This is what I mean by you can't search on location. Because of the nesting and how that's stored in the SQL, it's a entity data layer mapping thing. It's not a problem with SQL itself. It's a problem with my mapping system. But that means we need to go through all of the entities. ED find entities. We can't just find the first one. We've got to go through all of them. So that's that. I think find entities returns an iterable. Find entities returns a set, which we can iterate over. Okay, and so then the issue here is that this is slow, right? We wouldn't want to do this all the time. And so maybe okay, so we're only going to go through the destructible ones. If we've already got one, if the blocks tracker already has this one, oops, not equal to null. I get used to in Groovy where you could just say, yeah, and continue. If it was the one we wanted, we would have found it in find trackers. Okay, so that prevents us from doing the expensive database lookup of the spawn position, because we're just going to get a list of our set of entity IDs here, and we still have to look up the spawn position. But we can avoid that because we already knew it was in our trackers above. It could not be the one we're looking for. And this will help. So if you have like 50 edited blocks in your area, most of the time they're already going to have trackers. The only time you're not going to have a tracker is when it's like this temporary case where we're seeing multiple hits for the same block in the same frame and we haven't created a tracker yet for it. And so I'm thinking of potentially we could cache that. We could cache that. We could cache that. So cache the results. To do cache the results. But not right now. So ed get component. So for this particular entity, we want to get its spawn position. Position equals null. For whatever reason, let's just be safe. And then we can say if loc equals pos.location, we can stop searching. Otherwise, we did all we could, and now we return null. So this should deconflict, not speedily necessarily, but it should deconflict. Actually, the database is doing its own caching. This might be fine. Problem is we've got to wait 5 minutes for the other ones to disappear or go somewhere else. Well, while we're in here, I can maybe see if that dude went back to his home and figure out why he didn't, if not. Yeah, so I think Oak is playing Fallout 76 tonight while he watches. I've heard that's improved a lot. Bethesda says, son of a bitch. Something is going really strangely these days, and I'm getting concerned. Why are we suddenly getting all these no pointer exceptions? Yeah, and this is in JMonkey engine. Cannot read field value because x0 is null. And that's in the technique stuff. But list map. Yeah. Good old JMonkey Engine's custom data structures. Why use linked hash map when you could use list map? Oh, I know why, because they're going through... I suspect something is modifying something from a background thread. What could be doing that? The thing is... No, it should be fine, unless JMonkey Engine is doing some static stuff. Anyway, problem for another day. Who here has played a game that doesn't once in a blue moon crash for some weird reason, right? And then you restart it and everything's fine. You don't know what to do about it. I figure if I get Mythruna down to just those bugs, we're pretty good. I may need to get a set of headphones that doesn't clamp down on my head so hard. I feel my ears getting squished. Only positive thing I can say is it's not going anywhere. So what's the verdict on the webcam in the corner? Do we like seeing my face, or does it not matter? Okay. Alright, we've got one of these guys left. Oh, that's the one we made. So, yeah, 23 fax objects. They'll go away in 5 minutes. Why is he over here? You are nowhere near your home, my dude. Show debug text. Wander, wander, wander. Go home. He can't go home. He's trying to go home, but he can't go home. We can give him a path home. Let's give him a path home. I'm trying to do it without getting rid of any real grass. He should figure it out. Because the algorithm, it's not smart, but it's not dumb either. Like, look, he navigated that path. He has no idea where he's going. It's random wander, essentially, right? But because of the probe, he figured it out. He navigated... Skyrim VR is the best, yeah. So anyway, look, he navigated his way back home. Although he thinks he's not there yet, so there he is. He navigated his way back home without actually any intelligence at all. Right? That is the beauty of that little probe system. Basically, he knew, I want to go in that direction because that's where my home is. And we gave him a path, and the probe stuff let him navigate that little zigzaggy thing to find his home. Because if we go and look at the, you can see that red ball that floats in front of them. That's their probe. If that bumps into something, they say, hey, I'm getting close to something, and they'll turn. Watch her. She turns and avoids running into stuff that intersects. And it's supposed to be high enough that she could still walk on steps and things. But when she hits a wall, or even, I think she might even collide with the campfire here. Although she walked through it. At any rate. So it's kind of a cool little algorithm. Like if he runs into me, he will navigate around me as well. Like see, he's like actively not turning into me. He's trying to walk around. Anyway, it's kind of cool. Let's see, did it go away yet? Nope. But we can see what they're looking at. Okay, let's turn that off. So that's the only downside, is we're waiting for this guy to disappear. Did I fix anything else? That's primarily it. I got all of the Model view stake stuff converted. In fact, I can come over here and remove one more thing from my list. Up here, port. Yep, I did that. These are things after that one live stream, I kept adding things here. Choppable blocks have been moved. I've mostly cleaned out the old legacy stuff. Yeah, this is something we still need to do. That's something I still need to do. I have butterflies turned off at the moment just because they create a lot of chaos if you're trying to watch the logs. Okay, all the faxes went away. They finally timed out. So now we can go back to see if my fixed it. Alright, ready? Chop. Alright. We end up with 1. Ha! 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 Yeah, see, this is like just running around. Sometimes we'll bump into them and... Yeah, okay. So, so now I can chop them. We can do all kinds of choppy, chop. Choppy, chop. So there's probably going to be timing issues. Of course, we're not getting partial blocks and we're not getting particle effects. So eventually there will be particle effects on the client, right? That may happen. I may be able to make the particle effects happen as soon as we detect the hit. But otherwise, we can chop these things away. So there's a couple other bugs, like the same detection that tells me to stop making the animation because it hit something. If I run into the thing, it also stops. So just me standing here, it won't let me swing the axe because I'm colliding with an object. And so it needs to be more intelligent about what it... but look, chopping's working. And we should only have 6. Yep, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 faxes, 6 active faxes. That is perfect. So we ought to be able to overhand chop over here. Yeah, this would be a little less jarring if they were carved, right? Yep, so now... I don't know why I look up and down. It actually makes no difference at all with the overhead swing. Like, it'll chop whatever all the way down, even if you're not looking. Which probably something I should fix. But to fix that, I need to fix the... like, when the player's looking up and down, it actually does not change her model at all. And eventually... Oh, look, the axe isn't even in her hand. Eventually, looking up and down will cause your head to move and you to bend forward and lean back. Right, lean back, lean forward, and that will change where even the vertical axe is hitting. But otherwise, this is going to go through the full motion unless it hits something. Actually, it looks it looks better from here, really. Anyway, she can chop things. She can't chop things down near her feet, though, which is ultimately a problem. But it's not entirely unrealistic, I guess. If we do the side chop, we can sometimes get those down there. Nope, apparently not. I think the sword is the sword longer? Maybe not. That's right, it doesn't care that, yeah, no, we can't chop it with the sword either. But we can chop these just like with the axe. Look, we're chopping blocks with our sword. You'd never want to do that, by the way. Alright, so we can, move on to the next things. That's pretty cool. Got that problem fixed, and it doesn't seem to cause issues. Actually, it's actually working fine. So I should be able to, yeah, see, that's a big bug. I need to fix this, because you can't, it would be one thing if you couldn't chop the ground, if you could just keep digging up, right? But you can't, because like I'm holding the mouse button down, you can't see. Anyhow. Alright. What next? We got like 20 minutes. Now that I know that these aren't being duplicated, let's fix carving. And let's fix this weird shadow bug. Right. I like that we get kind of an impact effect because as she hits it, like moves her body. So it makes it feel like there's an impact. Okay, so that actually looks kind of cool. I made a nice little carving. So we're going to get rid of the drop shadow. That will fix this problem. Oh yeah, they're chopping back. Get rid of the drop shadow. I'm going to set the blocks to be carved so that they look correct. I don't need to see them so easy anymore. But I might make it a setting. Let's see. We want this guy. I think I already have the carve includes. No. I think I promised myself I was going to do that a different way. But I'm already passing it to... Am I getting the carve includes here? Yeah, get carve includes. So... Alright, so we get the carve includes. Spatial factories, one we're going to look at for a second, so that I get the... No. Cool snot. Fax model factory. Because I haven't actually fixed the... What I want to be able to do is whatever geometry I have, I just want to say, hey, carve it. And then have the materials know whether they're allowed to be carved or not. Right now, I can't do that. So let me save my work. And that's a refactoring for another day, because it works good enough. Works well enough. Okay, and then Spatial Factory should also show me how to do it. And the beauty of these is the scale should always be the same, and we should always do it. So where we are generating the geometry, we rebuild the spatial, calculate side max, create spatial array, create cell array spatial. Oh. That is where we want to do it though. Create cell array spatial. And is carved. Why isn't it carving? Oh, this is spatial factory, not spatial utils. Durr. Yeah, okay. So create cell array parts, geom factory, create cell array spatial, and we can say predicate, geometry, carve includes. And if we give it null, we won't. So if carve includes is not equal to null, it's good enough for now. And we'll fix the shadows while we're here. If cast shadows. Okay, so we just added two. We want to. All right. Cells, scale, geometry factory. Actually, we'll just do this. Geometry factory and carve includes go together. So carve includes, oh, cast shadows. False. We don't want to cast the shadows. Function, we need predicate here. And predicate here. Alright, will it compile? I envisioned writing a programming musical and one of the songs would be please compile. Okay, wait, who's complaining? Spatial utils. Yeah. Spatial utils. We don't want that. We don't have no, we ain't got no part. We just want to float. Right like that. Like that there. Okay. Should it compile? Please compile. Oh, please compile. Yep. Alrighty. Should have fixed the shadow problem. Should have fixed the carving problem. Which is going to be its own separate issue. But ought to bring us to a pretty decent stopping place if this works. Coming up on. Come on, come on. Had I added the campfires last time? Did I show you guys the campfires? I can't remember if that was before the last coding live stream or not. Because I was testing shape swapping. That's why we have these campfires all over, by the way. Just in case I didn't. Like, I don't know, you guys can hear. Like, we are standing next to a campfire, so we hear it, right? But you can actually douse the campfire, boink, and it goes out. And now we only hear this one. If I douse this one, now we don't hear a campfire anymore. And there's no light, right? But we come over here, we can hear this campfire. I think it's pretty cool. Eventually, you know, there'll be real lit campfires and stuff. So we can turn it back on, and you'll see it light up these blocks. Like it lit up those blocks. Check it out. And these are facsimiles. We've got currently 8 fax objects. So you can see, like the border here, the lighting is a little different because this one's not getting the same kind of lighting because we just lost some of our faxes. And you can see that, yeah, so we're disappearing over there as they. But this is already a fax object. I could chop it. And it's carved, so it's going to do weird things, right? Because the grass blocks don't like to be carved because they're not using that fancy 3D carving stuff I created in that other live stream yet. But it's working. And I think some of these might still be. If not, they'll create them. Yeah, so like now, see the textures line up even if the lighting doesn't, which I think is okay for now. Oh yeah, check it out. Tweak. So if we take a running start, yeah, we could like just smear our axe all through stuff. We could chop stuff up though. So the weird thing is trees still not, because they're not using the new stuff. So if I come over here and chop the tree, it's going to turn into sticks. But it works otherwise, right? I could chop through. And so if you can imagine this was using that like carved thing and we could see like the inside of the tree trunk as we're chopping it away, that would be pretty cool. It's already pretty cool with just the sticks. So we could chop over here. Chop, 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 chop. It looks a little weird with the wood axe. And there needs to be like a, when we're on the backswing, we're not chopping kind of thing. Because as it is, if I come here and I can, like I can chop on the backswing, which isn't right. There is actually, I think we added it in one of the live streams. It knows when we're in the middle of chopping. Like it's not supposed, like see, it's not supposed to chop blocks when we just run into them. I have to have the actual button pressed. And of course, then it's pretty like I can just, just breeze through all the, slice through. So that's probably something that's got to be fixed. But look, it worked, and that was pretty quick actually, because those weren't made yet. So that's pretty cool. I accidentally chopped the flames. So see, flames should not be choppable. Yeah, and if I douse this, yeah, so the lighting went away. And if I douse it, it's not going to douse correctly. Like if I douse it, it's not going to remove the flame block. Just remove the sound. Oh, but it put the flame back. Anyway, it's working. We made decent progress tonight, guys. I was hoping to get to turning on the little partial blocks, right? Because I think it looks a bit lame that they're all square. And we've already seen, I've got the code to do it better. But now that we're not creating, oh, maybe we still are. We've got 17 of these guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We might actually have 17. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to say we actually do have 17. Because, yeah, this is a block, this is a block, this is a block. There's at least 6 right there. And then in 1, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. It's possible that there's 4 that I'm not seeing inside. We might have chopped through. Yeah, because, yeah. I'm going to call it good enough. Neat. Yeah, I kind of do want to count them, though. Okay, so we've got 1 definitely there. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So it's possible that there's 2 of these that I just can't see that we sliced through and I'm just not seeing. Like maybe one of these is, anyway. Or this guy, you know, oh, now he is. So that's not supposed to happen when I just brush it. Anyway, pretty cool. That's all good progress, man. So yeah, what do? We fixed this. I don't know really why it happens. That's all still true. We fixed that. I believe we fixed that. So, I still need to fix that. So the idea being that when those chopped blocks go away, it shouldn't fill it back in with solid. Yeah, see, we've got some chopped blocks here. That anyway, it shouldn't go back to solid. It should be as close as it can get to the parts that were removed. And that went back. So will everything go back to normal? Yeah, so see, we've got... Oh, the flame block. I wasn't counting the flame block. So that was one I wasn't counting. So yeah, I'm going to just guess that I was because I can't see them so obviously anymore since we fixed the carving problem. Although weirdly, I feel like this one's still getting... Oh, it disappeared. Oh, see, now it just appeared just as I was about to check. Anyway, I felt like that one was still in shadow. But I think it's actually... That is the actual shading for that block. Okay, so we're down to 6 faxes. 1, 2. The flame blocks didn't go away yet, did they? No. 3. So it's possible we've doubled up. But we clearly were only a few away, so there's just got to be like a couple I'm not seeing. Or we're down to 5 now. Up. We're down to 3. So yeah, there's one over here. And 3 hidden ones. One way we can check is come over here and see if there's any inside here. Nope, there's a cool cave system over there in the distance I can see. Okay, so none of these are fax blocks. But it still says we have 3 of them. There's this one on the corner. That one definitely is. You can see by coming in here, right? That is a real block. But I'm not seeing any other ones. So, could be that we're still creating some extra ones, but we're much better than we were. I'm going to call that good enough. Sometimes in the midst of debugging other things, I will find the issue. And because there's no way to easily highlight them right now, it could be that I'm just not seeing some that are still carved. Because when I run around, the axe sometimes chops things. Alright, that's good enough. I'm going to call it a night. I really thank you guys for joining me. So hopefully you like seeing my face. And my, hopefully I have this one on my eyes tends to wander. Hopefully that didn't look too weird. Anyway, so let's go ahead and do the closing thing. I hope you guys have a super productive week. We will be doing this again. No, we won't be doing it on Friday because that is my child's graduation. So I'm going to have to miss next Friday. But thanks again to the patrons. Teamwork makes the dream work. And I do think it's awesome that you guys are still following along and keeping track. Anyway, I hope you guys have a productive week. I think we're going to miss the live stream next weekend. And wait, is next weekend the 7th? Yeah, definitely missing the 7th. I should be able to do the 15th or the 14th, but we'll see. If not, I might just move a different day. I might do that next weekend too. Instead of doing it on Friday night, do it on Saturday or something. So, all right. What's the what is that shape? uh, anyway, all right. Thanks, guys. Have a super productive week. I hope anything you're working on creative goes well for you, and that you have all of the energy and motivation to keep working on it. In the meantime, I will see you. Have a great time.